Shalom to the sons and daughters of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Hate evil and love the good.
Holy lineage, stuck on this earthly pilgrimage, lost our will to live. The kingdom's at hand, place of biz because of mental explosion, brain corrosion, collecting heads and Romans, awakening
He's going to put prophecy in Ezra's mouth, and it said
the chosen, while the universe stands frozen, the prophecies start unfolding, exploding. While the whole world sleeps, the shepherds are lost, sheep creep deep to the golden gates. It's Esau, the Lord hates from crime to thievery, to even murder and rape. We close his rapes, watch them like grapes, while these fakes that perpetrate. My people's there's no equal in this. We do the Deuteronomy 7 and 6. I know it's hard like bricks, but don't trip, we got the kingdom coming. No more slumming and bumming, the Lord's coming. Busting through, reach St. John 4 and 22, and guess who? The Lord's got a sword for, settle the score. All you heathens hit the floor. See these 12 stars, defenders of the law. Tiger wasn't up to par for this. Scandalous, murderous, evangelists who's girded up, ready to die for the words of the script. We too wise to be dumb. The hell with ice, we want the kingdom. Let's get out these sons and tell them where we from. Israel, you heard this, tuck tail and bell. Your rhymes are frail. You stepped in the zone where we excel. We too wise to be dumb. The hell with ice, we want the kingdom. Let's get out these sons.
Like you said, everybody got opinions, right? But not according to wisdom and understanding.
I pop my collar like strong.
Yeah, you got two choices, man. Take the blue or the red pill. Take the blue pill, stay your ass in the world and keep on eating microwave dinners. You wanna take the red pill? You can come out and wine and dine with me. It's a mouth, man, let's do it. I got a Kevlar mind with Teflon rhymes, antidote to venomous minds that decline the truth. Trapped in a box, thoughts locked, programmed to be spooked. I'm on some lynch mob shit, Buck the devil programmed to shoot. And got some steel at the tip of my boots just to regulate. We can get it all night and morning, just name the date. And don't hesitate, being a gangster ain't no good if your thoughts is featherweight. I don't care who got the best team, I'm here to drop the word and keep it moving like jet streams. The luster green got my niggas moving like dope fiends. You gotta see the picture, but it ain't made for flat screens. Lemur Park and Skid Row was where he's last seen. Survivalist with holy water filled in his canteen. The boogeyman's here to put an end to your American dreams. I'm out of sight of extraterrestrial being. Everything the Most High does, I hold it sacred. No stopping the sons of Jacob, you still plugged in the matrix. Me, I took the red pill, shook the snakes and the demons, keep it moving like a tracks on a treadmill. When I say I'm a Jew, I'm dead real. It's hard hats and flashlights on the hunt for Israel. We in the last days to see the killer be killed, but niggas is caught up with talking trucks and big wheels. Yo, heavyweight Solomon jewels, I use knowledge to rule, rejecting wisdom as an act of a fool. Christ is king, born to rule, let's take him to school. Open up the sword, baby, let it do what it do. Simple as that, Van Helsing the rap. I swing lefty when I'm holding the bat, righty when I'm holding the cat, man. On the highway to heaven, dipping out in the fast lane. I let my hair grow, OD'd on Rogaine. Spit the hot shit, taking shots of propane. SOJ created our own lane. I'm pacing for a queen, got no time for a dumb dame. Nowadays to be heard, I gotta be rude and profane. Dumb down my knowledge, make me look like I'm some lame. It's a trip of niggas with chump change, be so vain. It's the principle of truth, IQAhmath his first name. Come on. Everything the Most High does, I hold it sacred. No stopping the sons of Jacob, you still plugged in the matrix. Me, I took the red pill, shook the snakes and the demons, keep it moving like a tracks on a treadmill. When I say I'm a Jew, I'm dead real. It's hard hats and flashlights on the hunt for Israel. We in the last days to see the killer be killed, but niggas is caught up with talking trucks and big wheels. Yeah, okay, so understand what I'm putting out there. Red pillars only, okay? You wanna take the blue pill, microwave, popcorn your ass to death, go ahead. You know, I ain't got time for that, man. I'm too focused for that. The soldiers that I roll with is too focused for that. So if you wanna get down, get your mind right, come and holler at me, you know? Because when your Howard Shah comes back, it's a rap like a gypsy mummy. A lot of these heathens wanna trip and act a fool. I thug it out for the Lord, and I don't need no tattoos. We drop bombs with the Bible while you stand there baffled, looking like you seen a ghost. I'm with the Lord of hosts. Still keep a hood, crack the yak, and we can take a toast. Cheers. All right, let's try it again. Mic check, mic check, mic check. 7 in the chat if y'all can hear me. I'm gonna get it right one of these days. Get it right. We got some sound. All right. I should have known. There you go. Turn it down just a little bit. Yeah. All right, so back to the beginning again. For those of y'all that's online didn't hear, splashing on everybody, right? We're gonna get into the truth regarding Romans 13. And in particular, we're going to hyper focus on the first couple of verses. We're going to read through. Probably we'll try to read most of the chapters, 14 verses. But the first two are very important because there's doctrines that are being put out there that are these verses are being used to control populations of people, right? If not understood correctly. Like I was saying, wolves in sheep's clothing are going to utilize this verse to be able to control people's populations, so forth and whatnot, right? So I'm gonna play a video first so that you can get an understanding about what's being said. And I covered this years ago, but I'm gonna have to redo it again because there's some even in the Israelite community who subscribe to this particular understanding, and it's detrimental for our people. So let's play this video. And y'all see what we're talking about.
America? You turn yourself over. Law ever become a reality in America? Some fear any nuclear, biological, or chemical attack on U.S. territory might trigger.
Try it again.
Just that. Ever become a reality in America? Some fear any nuclear, biological, or chemical attack on U.S. territory might trigger just that. And as KSLA News 12 Jeff Farrell discovered, the clergy would help the government with potentially their biggest problem, us.
From my cold, dead hand.
Do you have the sound muted or is it?
It's on number 5. We'll try to see what.
Okay. But, no, we need everybody here.
In here? Oh.
That's why it's on there. So that's all look more comfortable on your phone. I just want everybody on their phone. Like, everybody can just watch it here.
That's
So not everybody's online. We're just trying to get the audio thing figured out. We got it. Okay. That's all look more comfortable on your phone. Okay. Let me mute myself and then
Law ever become a reality in America? Some fear any nuclear, biological, or chemical attack on U.S. territory might trigger just that. And as KSLA News 12 Jeff Farrell discovered, the clergy would help the government with potentially their biggest problem, us. Ever become a reality?
all right, so setting the stage on this particular video. This is during the time of Katrina, right? And during the time of Katrina, if everybody remembers in 05, the flooding was happening, people was, civil unrest was going on and whatnot. And it's talking about the role of Homeland Security as it pertains to gun confiscation, controlling the people and whatnot, and how they were going to use the churches and the clergy to help control the people. Okay, this is what you call the clergy response team. There's pastors, preachers, there's clergymen that's on government payroll, that's already in documentation saying we're going to roll with the government when things go bad. And we're going to use our influence and our power to herd the people into your hands. All right? Why does I not see that?
because the delay, yes, the delay.
Okay, you know what? Let's forget it.
All right, mute. I can mute it.
Here's the TV. Hopefully y'all are here from us.
All right.
Better yet, I am. It will be all right. Here we go.
Law ever become a reality in America? Some fear any nuclear, biological, or chemical attack on U.S. territory might trigger just that. And as KSLA News 12's Jeff Farrell discovered, the clergy would help the government with potentially their biggest problem, us.
So you hear us say that the government is going to rely on the clergy to help with what could be their biggest problem, us, the people, right? Now, let's continue on with this. I know it's probably echoing. Play the video straight to a commentary after.
From my cold, dead hand.
Charlton Heston's famous declaration captures a truly American value, the overarching desire to protect our freedoms. But gun confiscation is exactly what happened during the state of emergency following Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. U.S. troops also arrived, something far easier to do even now thanks to last year's elimination of the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act. That forbid U.S. troops from policing on American soil. If martial law were enacted here at home, like depicted in the movie The Siege, easing public fears and quelling dissent would be critical. And that's exactly what the clergy response team, as it's called, helped accomplish in New Orleans.
Jeff, the primary thing that we say to anybody is let's cooperate and get this thing over with, and then we'll settle the differences once the crisis is over.
Such clergy response teams would walk a tightrope between the needs of the government versus the wishes of the public.
In a lot of cases, these clergy would already be known in the neighborhoods in which they're helping to defuse that situation.
For the clergy, one of the biggest tools that they will have in helping calm the public down or obey the law is the Bible itself, specifically Romans 13.
Because the government is established by the Lord, and that's what we believe in the Christian faith. That's what's stated in the Scripture.
Civil rights advocates believe the amount of public cooperation may depend largely on how long they expect the suspension of their rights might last. Jeff Farrell, KSLA News 12 reporting.
And according to Tuberville, during Hurricane
So you heard them say they're going to use Romans 13 as a primary text to say, hey, the government's been established by God. Obey everything that they say. Whatever they say, that goes, right? And then he says, our job is to obey first, and then we'll straighten out the rest later. So if that's the doctrine that they're going to stand behind, and notice it said these are clergy response teams. These are people who are people that's already lined up that is being utilized as tools to control the people. I don't know if y'all heard about it or remember, but back in it was last year, the end of last year, like December or something like that. There was like 1,000 preachers and pastors that flew to Israel to pledge their allegiances to the small hat, GMO mutants over there, to show that they're in allegiance with America, their goals, the war, everything else. Now, that already lets us know that you got 1,000 of them that's already politically involved. That's just the ones that's coming out. Now, you also got the ones that's on the 501c3, nonprofit payrolls and all of that. Eventually, they're going to have to either compromise their grants and their nonprofit tax exempt status, Because when they started changing things up, saying, well, we need you to start doing this, that, and the third, or we're going to strip you of your funding or strip you of your tax exemptions, people are going to start making choices. You know, when, in particular, when it was time for COVID and it was everybody pushing the shots, push the shots. There was Israelite congregations / camps that was saying, take the shots. And these are ones that I know was on 501c3. Now, if they're out there saying, just get it so we can get back to normal, just get it. So you got to press pause and say, well, where is this coming from? Why are you even compromising saying this? Is it scriptural? So we see that the game plan is already, Romans 13, right? So here's another thing. Let me play this other video. I'm gonna play this one. Right. So remember that the Edomite said, hey, the government's established by God, so we're not to despise that. We got to do what they say, regardless, of the circumstances. If it seems wrong, we'll straighten it out after the fact. But let's just comply first. As if they're going to have any power to tell the government, hey, even though we bow down and we did this, that, and the third, now that things seem to be under control, we want to speak about all this wickedness that you've been having us do or making us do. They ain't going on. You're not going to negotiate and tell them we'll straighten it out after. No, you've already bowed down and you've already showed your card that you're with them people.
That includes New Orleans, where today authorities stepped up their efforts to empty the city. Bob Woodruff is there again tonight with an extraordinary human drama unfolding. Bob?
That's true, Elizabeth, and good evening from New Orleans. Here, the police and the National Guard find themselves in a very difficult position tonight to try to carry out an order to force people from the city without actually using force.
Today in New Orleans, they got a lot tougher on the holdouts.
Police department is going home!
Not only the flooded areas, but New Orleans' driest and wealthiest neighborhoods, too.
Police department!
The police and National Guard going street by street, house to house.
We need to make sure, too, that whenever we knock on doors, people refuse to leave. We need to make note, call it in.
They say there are no orders to use force, just strong persuasion, sometimes entering open houses with guns drawn, and instructions to disarm any. Anyone inside.
You say guns will be taken? No one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
That happened today in this wealthy neighborhood where homeowners had armed themselves to protect their mansions. Residents were handcuffed on the ground. In the end, police took their weapons but let them stay in their homes.
They were a little bit threatened because our weapons were bigger than their weapons.
For many of the police and guard troops, it is an uncomfortable job to do this in an American city. This guard unit occupied a church, using it as a base camp. They had to leave a note because they could not get hold of the pastor to get permission.
Now, I know y'all saying sound. I'm trying to play the video because when I play it and I stop, you're gonna hear echo because of the mics and my computer volume. So unless y'all want to hear echo, I'm just pausing it, letting y'all see the video, and I'm commentating after the fact. So just watch the video to avoid the audio problems, and then we'll talk about it afterwards for y'all that's online. All right. I'm not saying nothing in particular. I know y'all like, we can't hear what's going on. I'm just playing the video. All right, let me finish this one up and then we'll get to the scriptures.
Mission.
It is surreal. Yeah, you never expect to do this in your own country.
Chris Montgomery says he'd rather be in Iraq than patrolling American neighborhoods.
Walking up and down these streets, you don't want to think about the stuff that you're gonna have to do if somebody pops around the corner.
I mean, shoot in America.
Yeah.
See that? I thought he said no force. We're not going to use force, just strong persuasion.
Tonight, an I-Team exclusive, new video and information.
That's a precursor to ICE. But there you go. Now we're putting the pieces of the puzzle together. That was 21 years ago. However, the same thing is right around the corner where ICE patrolling the streets with shot gloves and flock cameras everywhere and telling everybody where they can and can't go and what you can and can't do and all you hear, where's the papers at? Same thing, but we see that they already got it in alignment. But then guess what? When the place that, in the Black and Hispanic neighborhood, the church was always a place of security cover. You're supposed to be able to feel safe with the church. You can trust, a sanctuary. Now everybody knows, okay, yeah, the church is corrupt and all of that, but guess what? When something goes bad, everybody go to the church, for refuge, earthquake hits, whatever. There's a place people can go to. Now you can't even trust that because is the pastor part of the clergy response team that's saying, yeah, everybody come on in. This is part of the wolves in sheep's clothing. Yeah, we're going to be okay. Look, we got water, we got food. Where'd that come from? Was it donated from the people, or how'd y'all get these? Now it's we're going to be good over here. Just listen to what they say. As guards at the front of the church, and they're telling you don't do this where you live at. We need to strip you, and you're gonna have some out there saying, yeah, this is the right thing to do because Romans 13 tells us that. Let's go there in Romans 13.
Romans 13:1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that be are ordained of the Most High.
Okay, so this is why you seen that even my preachers say, hey, the powers that be, they're of God, government. Did y'all read government there? All right, let's see something. Let's look at some other translations, and we're going to see where the script then flipped, how it changed. The different Bible versions, right? So we see the KJV. Let's look at the New King James. What's that say?
Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities.
Oh, wait a minute. So the New King James, they done switched the higher powers to governing authorities now. Go ahead.
For there is no authority except from the Most High.
So they didn't get into the government, and the governing authorities got their power from the Most High. Go ahead.
And the authorities that exist are appointed by the Most High.
How about the NLT, the New Living Translation?
Everyone must submit to governing authorities.
We can stop there. NIV, what's it say?
Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities.
Okay, the English Standard Version, ESV.
Let every person be subject to the governing authorities.
You see the pattern? All the newer versions change the wording from higher powers to government-based. It's governing authorities now. What are the churches mostly promoting? Oh, we read the NIV, we read the ESV, we read the NLT, we only read the New King James. Not realizing that tweaks was done in there to persuade people to follow a certain level of understanding that may not be on point. Now let's go back and read it again.
Romans 13.
Oh, my bad. I don't think everybody's. But you can go ahead. I don't think I was sharing it right for everybody who didn't see. Let me just make sure everybody's seeing what we was reading. So y'all online. I don't think I shared my screen, but you can see here the different translation versions. We read the NLT. Read the New King James. See here, let every soul be subject to governing authorities. NLT saying the same thing. Governing authorities. Governing authorities. Governing authorities. But what did it say before that? The higher powers. Now, these other translations saying, well, that translates into anybody's got authority over you. Question. If that's the case, right? Read Romans 13:1 again.
Romans 13:1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of Yahweh.
All right. So with that understanding, if that means the governing authority, this government, does that mean that, especially the Israelites, and them pushing critical race theory with the education systems, we shouldn't be speaking about Deuteronomy 28, and we can't talk about slavery no more, gay marriage, forced vaccines, abortions, usury. They legalizing prostitution in many. I mean, this government is saying that's all good. Should we be subject to that? Is that what the Bible is telling us? Yeah, this government talking all this stuff, or is it meaning something else? You got something?
Before we finish up in Revelation 22:19, this is why we're instructed only to read out of the KJV.
Revelation 22.
All these other editions, NLT, NIV, yes, they give you a different perspective, but it was ordained that the children of Israel always should read out of the authorized edition, which is the King James.
Right.
Revelations 22:19. And if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy,
meaning KJV,
the words of the book of this prophecy, the Most High shall take away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book.
This book, he's been specific. Yeah, you have all these different editions and these different versions and what have you, but it was authorized. That's why it's called the King James Authorized Edition. It was ordained by the Most High. That's why the governing is not in there.
Right. That's exactly right. And it's okay to do comparative translations and see what some of, because King's English ain't always the easiest to understand and whatnot, but that doesn't mean that doctrine or your understanding should be solidified by these other translations. NIV and New King James, some of those delete whole verses out of the Bible. So stay rooted in your foundation, which is the KJV, and everything will, come back to full understanding. But with these other ones, they substitute these particular words, and next thing you know, it can change the whole context of what we're reading. So it say higher powers, but they say, well, that translates into governing authorities and your government. But what if you got a corrupt government? What if you got a government that ain't right? Now, I've seen some videos now of later time that the Edomites say, yeah, what we supposed to do? If the government tells us to do wrong, then yeah, we don't do that. We're going to make God rather than man. Now they're trying to say that now, 20 years later. But that doesn't mean that the clergy response teams ain't still there and that the sheep aren't still saying, well, whatever pastor say, go. I'm going to do whatever he says. If he says, listen, we're going to listen, we're going to follow along. Now let's go back, Romans 13, 1 and 2, and then we're going to put it all together.
Romans 13:1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that be are ordained of the Most High.
So, read verse 2.
Verse 2. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of the Most High.
So they say, well, if you resist and you go against what the government's laid down, you're going against God. So that makes everybody say, oh, shoot, I don't want to offend God. I better do what they say to do. So if they're running around saying, mandatory pokes in the arm, you need to get this or else, and you need to boost it. Oh, we're saying that, you know what, the Sabbath is no longer available, no longer holy. Everybody needs to start working on the Sabbath, violate. You need to start eating these unclean foods. If it's mandated by the government, they're saying you better do it. Otherwise, you're resisting the Most High. We know that the Most High says that he never gave man license to sin, right? Let's get that in the book of Sirach in your pockets. Ecclesiastes 30, I believe that is. And so if we've got a foundation where we know, okay, if it doesn't sound right, it's probably not right. Something's going on. Which one? Is 15? I'm all up. I said 30. Oh, 20 is the last word. There you go. I put 0 in there. 30.
Chapter 15.
That's what I said. Sirach 15 and verse 20.
Sirach 15:20. He hath commanded no man to do wickedly, neither hath he given any man license to sin.
So we see how America has been operating. It's through sin, wickedness, unrighteousness, colonization, all of the above, right? Now, if they're saying do what they're saying to do, of course, if that's the understanding that's promoted by the churches, and even some Israelites teach, government's ordained by the Most High, you do what they say to do. Now, disclaimer, I'm not saying be a rebel and go out there and wild out and middle finger to Uncle Sam all day and don't pay your taxes, don't get a license. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm going to give the balance. But what they're promoting is do whatever they say. This is of God. Give me Proverbs 3:31. Book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 34.
Proverbs 3:31. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways.
So there has to be ways that we have to make sure that we're discerning and making righteous decisions about which ways we're choosing. He said, don't envy the oppressor and don't choose any of his ways. If his ways are unrighteous, his ways lead down paths of wickedness, breaking the commandments of the Most High, going against God, then you know, don't choose those things. How many times we make examples and he's got on his dollar bill and on his coins, in God we trust, and we constantly say, no, you don't. Because you don't uphold the laws of God. You don't uphold the righteousness of the Most High. You don't do none of the above. So at that point, we got to pause and say, you know what? He doesn't believe. So is Romans 13 saying that? No, it's not saying that. All right, let's go back and let's read Romans 13 and verse 2 now.
Romans 13:2. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of the Most High, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation.
You see how that can kind of force people to be like, oh, shoot. If I resist the power, I'm resisting the ordinances of the Most High. And then if I resist, I'm going to get damnation. I'm going to be destroyed, like a fire, hell. I better just listen and do whatever they tell me to do. Well, we don't do and operate in those circumstances. Read verse 3.
For rulers are not a terror to good works.
So it says a righteous ruler, a real ruler, won't be a terror if you're doing good works. I can't tell because when people are trying to do good works and look out for their families and their bodies and doing their research and saying, yeah, I don't think I want that shot in me or my sons or my daughters. I'm hearing about too many things. Oh no, you're gonna lose your job. You're gonna, face all kind of restrictions, all these issues now. And that was supposed to be a good work, right? If you're saying I want to look out for my health and I want to make sure I'm watching out what's going in my body as far as foods are concerned. I don't want to eat swine, but what's he doing? He's mislabeling things, hiding ingredients, doing everything to kind of corrupt them and defile us, forcing us to work on the Sabbath, giving us hell when we telling our bosses, I need this particular day off, this holy day off, and whatnot. So it says the ruler is not going to be a terror to good works, but they aren't righteous rulers. So they don't fit that qualification. Read on.
But to the evil, wilt thou then be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same.
Now, it says if we're doing good, then we'll have praise of the same, but they're not following these things. Let's get a few scriptures showing why it's not talking about government and what these higher powers are. Who are these authorities that the Most High is saying to obey and follow? Go back to your Apocrypha in Ecclesiastes chapter 10. We're going to read 1 and 2.
Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 1. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of the prudent man is well ordered.
Is the government in America right now well ordered, or is it all over? It's all over the place. You got secretary generals quitting, press secretaries quitting, Elon, all them quitting. Everybody's running for the hills. The economy is in shambles. Unemployment up, stock market crash. You name it. This thing is going to hell in a handbasket faster than what's the guy, Speedy Gonzalez?
Yeah.
I mean, this place is definitely not well ordered. Multiple wars. As he swore himself in, saying he's the president of peace, he's going to end the Ukraine war in 24 hours. He's not for endless wars, but meanwhile, he wants endless funding for the military. When you got guys on the military ships and Navy, damn near committing mutiny, they said it was up to 6 people trying to jump off of them boats, man, because it was like, this is madness. Showers ain't working, everything rusting, mold all over the place. They eating like they're in prison, rationing food out. Been on sea for like 6-7 months now. Deployments is going well beyond how long they were supposed to be there, and he's like, they ain't been out there long enough. Send them back out there. Prudent man is not well ordered. I mean, this government is not being led by a prudent man who's well ordered. Verse 2.
Verse 2. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers.
So we know Trump is covetous.
And what?
We know he's a liar. We can see his indiscretions in regards to his relationships with Epstein and everything else that's going on with him. They're roaming around his little personal assistant. He got some little affair going on with her. Who knows what that's about? But it says now the judges, as the judge of the people is himself, so is the officer. So everybody else is falling in line with his corruption and wickedness. And you can't nobody, even his own people that voted for him, all the MAGA people is like, no, this ain't right. I want out of MAGA. This ain't what I voted for. He's ruining our country. Even the Edomites are like, it's not well ordered. He's not prudent. And all of his officers is wicked as hell too. Read on.
And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all that dwell therein.
Right. So we can see it's a trickle down theory. If things ain't right at the head, the rest of the body ain't right either. So clearly, we can't attribute Romans 13 as saying that they're not going to, a righteous ruler is going to be a terror to good works and all of that and follow them, or otherwise you're going to get damnation. Most are telling us the qualifications that we need to see in order for that to be a righteous government. Let's go to Proverbs 29 and verse 12.
Proverbs 29:12. If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked.
Okay, so can we all agree that Agent Orange has hearkened to lies and promoted them heavily. I mean, good Lord. He didn't say that the war was over, what, 30 times now or greater than that? They've got control of the Strait of Hormuz. He's going to make it a U.S. territory. And giggling about that, he said that the gas price is the lowest it's ever been under him. Meanwhile, it's the highest it's ever been.
For real.
I mean, everything he said is a lie. And the Lord said, well, if that's the case, everybody that serves under him is wicked because they're complicit and they're riding with it. And the only ones who's not are the ones who's saying, I'm resigning, I'm leaving, I'm out of here. All the rest is going along with the program. The Lord said, all the servants is wicked. So this can't be a prudent government that we should be following and adhering to. Let's get another one. Let's go to Acts 17. Acts 17. And let's read start at verse 10.
Acts chapter 17, verse 10. And the brethren immediately sent away Paul and Silas by night unto Berea, who coming thither went into the synagogue of the Jews. These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind, and searched the scriptures daily, whether those things were so.
Right. So the church of Berea, they were diligent. They said they got the word, but they said they will go and search it daily to make sure it was true. So in anything that is put before us, especially if it's coming from a higher quote unquote power, authority, government, so you got to search it out to see if this thing is sound or not. In anything that we do, scripturally, the Bereans, they was like, look, we hear what you're saying, Paul, Silas, but we're going to get into these scriptures. We're going to find out that everything's right. And they said that with readiness in mind. So that lets us know that we have to be diligent and not just blindly follow anything. We have to continually search out matters, right? Proverbs 25 and 2. Let's read that. So when that Edomite was like, yeah, we know the government's ordained back out, and we do whatever they say, and then we'll straighten out later. But we just want to submit first. If you in that church, well, shouldn't be no Jake following no dang Edomite pastor anyway. But if you deceived or were deceived in that time and era, and you sit back saying, damn it, I listened to him, and guess what? I lost my house, I lost everything, and I got arrested. You're going to be like, you blaming it on the pastor. You know. Read that, Proverbs 25 and 2.
Proverbs 25 and 2. It is the glory of the Most High to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter.
Right. So when things are concealed, the Most High says you get glory by searching out matters, studying to find, showing ourselves approved, researching to find out if it's cool. You know, back, like I said, back when the COVID hit, and I started hearing prominent Israelites up there talking about get the shot. We need to get back to normal, canceling the Passover and all kind of stuff because they were told no gathering, 6 feet, shutting down venues and all that. The show don't stop. You should have still been keeping that Passover regardless. But when you're saying, well, I can't keep the Passover unless my camp is doing it, what are you talking about? That's a law. Now, whether or not people individually still kept it at their house, whatever. When we had ours, the venues were shut down, but guess what? We got 3 lambs. We had one house with a lamb, another house with a lamb, another house with a lamb, and split up everybody to their closest proximity, and everybody still kept the Passover. Figured it out. Found the farms that were still giving the lambs, did the sacrifice, did everything still according to the law and everything we're supposed to do. Never said, shut it down. That's it. Paul said it's over with. I mean, at what point are we still supposed to be fighting to keep the law? The Lord said, when those things happen, we got to search out, man. How can we still do it? How can we still avoid these issues and whatnot? These fake restrictions that's not allowing us to keep the laws of the Most High. That was crazy. That was like, uh-oh. But it was revealing at the same time. It's like, all right, trying to see who's gonna buckle, who's gonna fall, who's operating under what or not, and who is. Let's jump over to Matthew 15. So if they ain't telling you right, and then you got to press pause and search out a matter to find out, well, what's the problem? What's going on? Why are we not doing this? How come you're telling us that this doctrine has changed now? And if it's going along with a trend that you see that the world is going along with, or doctrines that's pacifying the people that's not scriptural, to pause and say, wait a minute, why are we changing this up? What's going on now? Why are you increasing your alms or tithes? You need more money, or how did you get that new car or that new building? Where is this money coming from? Because we ain't taking no funding from. We said we're not taking no 501c3 money, or we said we're not gonna. And then sometimes you gotta ask them questions. Search out the matter. Go ahead and read that Matthew 15:14.
Matthew 15:14. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind.
And listen, if things ain't adding up, you better get the heck out of there. Read.
And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into a ditch.
Right, that's blind leading the blind. Hey, we're just going to let the government tell us what to do, and we'll straighten it out later. And you say, how can we do that? Romans 13, brother. These probably governments ordained by the Most High. You tell me the Most High is all right with all this wickedness that Esau is doing in these governments and saying, yeah, that's me, that's all me. Now don't get it twisted. We know that the Most High sets up leaders, takes down leaders, sets up kings, sets down kings, all for his judgment, right? But it's for us to understand and discern and know that yes, everybody's in position according to the will of the Most High. Daniel 2 tells us that he sets up kings, he takes down kings, so forth and so on. But while we're under this particular reign and rulership, we still have obligations to follow righteousness. Now, if they're blind leading the blind, the Lord said, man, everybody gonna fall in the ditch if you just blindly follow them. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Let's go to 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel 23. Book of 2 Samuel 23 and the 3rd verse.
The power of Israel said, the rock of Israel spake to me. He that ruleth over men must be just.
Should be just.
Must be just.
Must be just. He said that if he's going to rule over men, he's got to do it and he must be just. We don't see a lot of justice happening here under this reign and rulership of Donald Trump, Slow Biden, Obama. None of the past and previous rulers have been just. That's just the fact. So the Lord said, if you got a ruler, you got to make sure that he's just. Continue.
Ruling in fear of the Most High.
Now, if that was the case, if this was true, and we can see and witness that the government that's in front of us right now is just, and they rule in the fear of the Most High, then yes, subject yourselves to these particular powers. But if you see the opposite, the Lord said, don't be a blind leader, the blind falling in the ditch. You don't follow after wickedness. The Lord told us, even in the law, Exodus 23. Let's read that real quick. Exodus 23 and 2. Exodus 23 and 2nd verse.
Exodus 23 and 2. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil.
I mean, that's plain. So if evil is in front of us and we see that the government is evil, then operating in unrighteousness, of course, you don't follow that. Read.
Neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment.
Right. So if there's a struggle to understand the judgment of your witness, and you understand that you can bring righteous judgment to the table, you can't decline and be like, my goodness, I wasn't involved in that. I didn't see what. No, the Lord said, you cannot, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many been wrestling in judgment. Decline to comment. Plead the fifth. I didn't see that. And you can bring righteous judgment. No, speak up. That's the law. Okay. Proverbs 13 and 13. Everybody following so far? All right. Proverbs 13, 13.
Whoso despiseth the word shall be destroyed.
So, does America despise the word of the Most High? They
Oh,
took
damn.
it out the schools. They constantly are teaching things about LGBTQ, HIV inclusion, trying to get them on board, drug abuse.
Did y'all pray in school as a kid?
Mhm.
We did.
Really?
In Texas? Oh yeah. We as a kid. Did y'all didn't pray in school when you was a kid? We did. Yeah.
See, Catholic schools, I believe they did.
Yeah.
But Texas is one of the states that they're trying to get. I think Texas, Oklahoma, they're trying to get the Ten Commandments at least posted back in the schools and the use of Bibles. Now, I remember when my mom was little, he used to bring his Bible to school every day. And when it was free time or whatever, people had stuff, he used to bring his Bible out. They used to be like, oh, put that away. You don't have to read that right now.
Really?
He's like, what? Nah, or they, he probably should have been reading whatever they got going on. He got his Bible out. And, they should trip about him having a Bible sometimes. But, yeah, these are the type of things that the Lord said, whoso despises the word is going to be destroyed. This is one of the things that, America's got to pay for and have to put on their tab is because they do not uphold the word of the Most High. The governments don't uphold the word of the Lord. I played that video not too long ago. And I played it a couple of times, but when they had that city council, and it was in Texas, I believe, and they were talking about the Ten Commandments being put in the schools, and the Democrat lawmaker, he was like, well, do you know the fourth commandment? And the woman was like, oh, if you want to get a theological discussion, I mean, we can, but you talking about the Sabbath? We're supposed to keep the Sabbath holy? He was like, exactly. He was like, well, what are we doing here today? He was like, well, I guess you're going to say we should be having a meeting today because it's the Sabbath. And he was like, So they know the law. They know when the Sabbath is and all of that, but they sit back and say, oh, well, forget all of that. We're not under that, and y'all ain't under that. You're still going to go work. We're still going to hold, city council meetings and declaring what the future is going to be like for your kids and mine in regards to their education. And they making judgments on
That's why they use the separation between church and state. That's when they really started
That's right. That's right. Making no difference between the clean and the unclean with the dietary laws and all that thing. This government is not just. So how can you sit back and say that this is ordained of the Most High and you need to follow it? All right. Let's get a couple other examples. Second Maccabees. So we see why it's not talking about this particular government or any previous ones because they don't adhere to Most High. Are you trying to tell me that the Roman government was in alignment with the Most High?
That's why the Bible doesn't separate the state from the church. Right. It's all one. You get established government on Christ under the law of the Most High.
That's going to be the true government. That's right. Second Maccabees 7. Let's just read down to 8. Because our people have a heritage, especially those who follow the laws and living in the frames of righteousness and defending the word of the Most High, of being rebellious to unrighteousness. We never just went along with the program. Okay. Let's go. Second Maccabees chapter 7. Get it for you, brothers. Second Maccabees 7 and start at verse 1.
Second Maccabees chapter 7 verse 1. It came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips.
Now, mind you, Paul knew this history. You know, he's reading and understanding all what's happening during the time of the Maccabees and under Greek rules and all of that. With him understanding that, would he still be like, no, she should have bowed down to the ground? That's the higher powers. Why? But it said that the 7 brothers with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to take swine's flesh, and they were tormented with scourges and whips. Why were they tormented with scourges and whips?
But one of them that spake first said thus, what wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die, rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers.
Right.
Then the king, being enraged, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot, which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first.
Wow. Can you imagine that? This government that was set up, man, the Greeks sit back and said, eat swine's flesh, or we're going to torture you. And I said they were beaten with scourges and whips. And now when this brother came out, he said, well, what would you have us do, man? We're not going to do that to break the laws and the commandments. He said, what? Okay. Heat up the pans, heat up the pots, heat up the knife, and we're going to cut his tongue out for even speaking against this government. Read.
And to cut off the utmost parts of his body, the rest of his brethren and his mother looking on.
And they made an example out of him as his 6 brothers watched this, and the mother. Read.
Now when he was thus maimed in all his members.
And you know how Esau loves to maim the members, especially of the men, loves to castrate, loves his penis envy. You know, that's probably the first thing they chopped off him outside his tongue. Now they say, oh, get his members, cut him here, and do that. Wicked, man. Go ahead.
He commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire, and to be fried in the pan.
And mind you, notice it said he wasn't even dead then. They tortured his brother, man, and he still was alive. Remember that old visual aid we used to have? Brother that got burned alive. He was cuffed behind a post, and his body was burned, and the Edomites standing around watching. They said they castrated him first.
Yeah.
Castrated him first, tortured him, and then burned him alive for the public to see.
And then shot him up with bullets.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Then shot him up, and then they're gonna sit back and say that, you know, as we went into your regeneration, and you told me the people is not here. I mean, they damn near doing the same thing here. Where would that spirit and that idea come from if that's not already embedded in them to do it? You know, 1,000 years later, you still doing the same type, same mind frame, same wickedness, same torture tactics. Like, yeah, where that spirit come from? It's been there. They've been doing it. Verse 5, read on.
And to be fried in the pan.
And they wanted to go frying, read.
And as the vapor of the pan was for a good space dispersed, they exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully, saying thus, the Lord God looketh upon us, and in truth had comfort in us, as Moses in his song, which witnessed to their faces, declared, saying, and he shall be comforted in his saints, in his servants. So when the first was dead after his mother, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair, they asked him, wilt thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body?
Man, they didn't scalp this brother and said, you gonna eat this wine now? Or are we gonna keep torturing? What'd he do?
But he answered with his own language and said, no.
Yes, boss.
No.
Compliant, yes.
No.
Okay, read.
Wherefore he also received the next torment in order as the former did.
So we ain't gonna go through this because this is too much. I'm flashing back. I'm like, can't believe they did this.
There was a old movie where the slave, I don't know what the name of the movie was, but it was like a clip that I seen where they had the big pot boiling with water.
Oh, that was Mandingo.
And they tried to make him get in. He was, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Christ.
there you go. You know, so long story short, they tortured and killed all 7 of their sister's sons. They said she had to have a manly stomach to have to deal with this, as she seen all of her sons getting put to death, right? And then later she got it. But what was it for?
She was the last one.
She was the last one. Now they said that all of this went down because they resisted the power. They went again. They said we're not bowing down. When it comes down to you're trying to make us compromise our moral, civil, dietary laws, we're not doing it. So there was no be subject to the higher powers of the governing authorities because they're of God. That ain't of the Most High. The Most High, they was like, no, the Most High sees, watches, and understands, and we're going to be martyred for this truth. He said, man, we remember the songs of Moses about raising, beating, defeating our enemies and the whole nine. We know what's coming. Okay. Now look, see, read 13 and 14.
Verse 13. Now, when this man was dead also, they tormented and mangled the fourth in like manner. So when he was ready to die, he said thus, it is good being put to death by men, to look for the hope of the Most High, to be raised up again by him. As for thee, thou shalt have no resurrection to life.
That's deep. You know, some people knew. He said, well, I'll be back. He said, it's good for me to get put to death by the hands of men. He said, to look for the hope for the Most High, to be raised up again by him. I'll be back. I'll be raised up again. He said, but for you, you're not coming back. They knew. Okay, Obadiah, Esau will be none remaining. He knew that Esau got eternal damnation coming to him. He said, you're not going to get the resurrection life when the Most High actually is over. So our people understood and knew. Let's get a couple more. Let's go to 1 Maccabees 1 and 41. Stay in Maccabees. 1 Maccabees 1. And First Maccabees 1. And let's read verse 41. So we're seeing and just collecting a little bit of data about how our people dealt with corrupt governments as it pertains to do we adhere and follow along regardless, or got some discernment, search out matters, and do we make wise decisions and say yay or nay regardless, or do we just blindly go along with what the church is saying? Go ahead and read that.
First Maccabees 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
So here comes King Antiochus. He's saying, look, everybody leave your laws. Heathen jump aboard right away. Okay, cool. We're leaving our customs, our laws, everything. We're going to be like the Greeks. We'll follow after everything you say. Then it says also many of the Israelites consent. Many of the Israelites said, yeah, protect ourselves. We do whatever he says. That means sacrificing idols, profaning the Sabbath. Fine, we're going to do it. Priesthood got corrupted. Everybody. I'm going to say everybody, but there was many that went along with the program. We're going to see the same type of things happen in this stage right here. And they're going to back it by, Romans 13. Go ahead.
For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
All right, so this is the decree that was getting put out, right? Now, let's drop down and let's read. Let's read verse 49. We'll read down to 50.
Verse 49. To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever should not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, he should die. In the self same manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city.
Right. So unrighteous sacrifices being put out there, overseers are set out there. You got people making sure that they're doing all of the wickedness and unrighteous commandments. Right. Go ahead.
Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee to secure.
So you see some that said, well, we're out of here. We're going to go escape. We're not going to be a part of this. We're going to have to go off grid in today's terms. Say, well, I can't follow along what's going on, and went into secret places. So we see that the spirit of rebellion, or the spirit of us being able to say, no, we're not just following blindly. But in our people, we already knew that's how things have to go. Let's see Moses. They mentioned Moses. Let's go to Exodus. Exodus chapter 2, and let's read 11 and 12. Exodus chapter 2, and let's read the verse.
Exodus chapter
No, go ahead.
Exodus chapter 2, verse 11. And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked unto their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian.
So Moses, being raised up in the Egyptian household, he had power, authority, he had, influence at the time. But when he seen one of his brothers getting slaughtered and getting abused, he jumped in and went and helped him. Did he obey the higher powers or the governing authorities, or did he say, this ain't right? I'm going against that rebellion. That's what we have to pay attention to. That's the history that we have to establish and put in the minds of our people. Let's get another one. That's to the 3rd chapter. And start at 1 and read down to verse 3.
Esther chapter 3, verse 1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and revered Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence.
So what do we see here? King Ahasuerus, king of the Persian enemies. Now we see him put out a decree under Haman, Haman being his second in command, which was an Amalekite. He put out an ordinance saying to everybody, when they see me, you got to bow down. That's law. And that says all the king's servants that were in his king gate, they bowed and reverenced Haman. The king commanded this to happen, but what? Mordecai the Jew, I ain't bowing down to him. Man. Verse 3.
Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, why transgresseth thou the king's commandment? Now it come to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matter would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew.
Right, so we operate in a different fashion. Remember when Maccabee just said the heathen, they said they immediately agreed to drop their laws, they're gonna follow. But us, we don't do that. We live by a different code, right? Read verse 5 and then we'll move on to another.
And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
So obviously he got upset. He didn't like the fact that he wasn't being reverenced. He wasn't being, bowed down to it or whatnot. But why? Because we know we're not bowing down to no man. We only serve the Most High power. Right? So y'all can write down Daniel 3. Remember what's the exact verse. Daniel 3 with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Y'all remember them? They didn't bow down. Got thrown into the oven. Chapter 3 and verse 8. You can start there, read down. Daniel, the 6th chapter. Same with Daniel. when the decree went forth, they said the horn got blown and it was time to bow down and worship the idol. Everybody had to pay reverence, and Daniel was like, "No, I don't do that." So we see clearly our people have a history of rebelling and fighting against things that's not right. Let's go to Acts 16. Acts 16 and let's read. I want to start at start at 14.
Acts chapter 16, verse 14. And a certain woman named Lydia, a seller of purple of the city of Thyatira, which worshipped the Most High, heard us, whose heart the Lord opened, that she attended unto the things which were spoken of Paul. And when she was baptized and her household, she besought us, saying, if ye have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come into my house and abide there. And she constrained us.
All right, so Lydia, seller of purple in the city of Thyatira, she worshipped the Most High. Paul and Silas, they went ahead, gave her the Holy Spirit, taught her. She said, well, come to my house, stay here with us. Because at the time, speaking about Christ and talking about the coming Messiah, that was outlawed. But Paul and Silas went against that and was still teaching. Read on.
And it came to pass, as we went to prayer, a certain damsel possessed with the spirit of divination met us, which brought her masters much gain by soothsaying.
So you got a sister that was out here soothsaying and into witchcraft and palm reading and all kind of stuff, and she was getting pimped out by some dudes. She said she was bringing in a lot of money for them. Read.
The same followed Paul and us and cried, saying, these men are the servants of the Most High Power, which show unto us the way of salvation.
And she said, you know what? I know I'm doing wrong, but those men are right. They're following after the Most High God. These are the servants of God. I need to go follow them. They're showing us the way of salvation. Everything that she was into was wrong. But what happened?
And this did she many days. But Paul, being grieved, turned and said to the spirit, I command thee in the name of Yahushua to come out of her. And he came out of the same hour.
So even though she was declaring that they were the servants of the Most High and all of that, she was still doing the wickedness that she was doing. So Paul said that spirit got to come up out of her if she really means what she's talking about. Read on.
And when her master saw that the hope of their gains was gone,
when the money dried up and she repented and seeing that she couldn't go out there soothsaying and doing the witchcraft and all that other stuff no more, her pimps was like, what you doing? Bring that money back. You coming up short all the time. What they do?
They caught Paul and Silas and drew them into the marketplace unto the rulers.
So Paul and Silas, they snitched on them and grabbed them up and said, man, these guys are messing up our money. Brought them to the rulers, read.
And brought them to the magistrates, saying, these men, being Jews, do exceedingly trouble our city,
read.
And teach customs which are not lawful for us to receive, neither to observe, being Romans.
Now, if Paul is the author of Romans, does it sound like he's being a hypocrite?
Mm-hmm.
If he's meaning, obey the higher powers, the governing authorities, do what they say, you're going to receive damnation there of the Most High. Obviously, that wasn't what he was talking about, because he clearly went back and rebelled and said, man, I'm out here teaching the truth, and I'm not, curbing my tongue for anybody. And when it started affecting the money, it started affecting the people, and people were getting converted and learning the truth and following the laws and leaving off of Roman customs and ways. What they do? Oh, they said they teaching customs which are not lawful for us to receive, neither observe, being Roman. Read.
And the multitude rose up together against them, and the magistrates rent off their clothes and commanded to beat them. And when they had laid many stripes upon them, they cast them into prison, charging the jailer to keep them safely.
Okay, so they got locked up for going against the community, going against the Roman All right. Acts 28. Y'all can write that one down. Acts 28, start at 16. Read down. That's going to tell you about Paul and Silas was locked up. They were still preaching while they was in jail. And when they got out and Paul got on house arrest, he still was preaching. So he clearly was going against the laws. Going against government authority. Acts 5. Acts 5. And we start at verse 20.
Acts chapter 5, verse 20. Go, stand and speak in the temple of the people all the words of this life. And when they heard that, they entered into the temple early in the morning and taught. But the high priest came, and they that were with him, and called the council together, and all the senate of the state, and all the senate of the children of Israel, and sent to the prison to have them brought. But when the officers came, they found them not in the prison. They returned and told, saying, the prison truly found we shut with all safely, and the keeper standing out without before the doors. But when we had opened,
now notice this. Remember, 16 we read, they already got locked up. Now here we are back in 28, chapter 28. They're still going against government authorities, still teaching, preaching, even when they're locked up. So go stand, speak in the temple to all the people the words of life. When they heard that, they entered into the temple early in the morning to talk. But the high priest came, and they that were with him, and called the council together, and all the senate of the children of Israel, and sent to the prison to have them brought. But when the officers came and found them not in prison, they returned and said, what?
Saying, the prison truly found we shut with all safety, and the keepers standing without before the doors. But when we had opened, we found no man within.
So they got out. Right? The Most High delivered them out of prison. Why? Because they continued doing good works and teaching. Read.
Now when the high priest and the captain of the temple and the chief priests were heard these things, they doubted of them whereunto this would grow. Mm-hmm. Then came one and told them, saying, behold, the men whom ye put in prison are standing in the temple and teaching the people.
So they just got out of prison, they went back teaching again. So Paul clearly could have been saying, follow the rules, follow what they say to do. If they're telling you, stop doing this, you can do just the opposite and keep it. Go ahead.
And when the captain with the officers, then went the captain with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people, lest they should have been stoned.
So they said, we got to deal with this delicately. You know, if we go over there and rough them up, beat them up, and trip on them, the people might rebel because they're still Jews. They're still my people over there, even though we don't agree with what they're teaching. Yo, you can't do that. You see how that go out in the streets, man. Brother get beat down and whatever. Everybody still comes together and says, that wasn't right. Let's march together. Regardless of our philosophical, ideological differences, we still gonna band together. So they said, well, we got to be wise about this. We can't go out there and just, treat them with violence. They're going to stone us.
You know, they had an incident a few weeks ago right there in the Lamert district where it was a young 14-year-old boy, and the cops, had him hemmed up. But the whole city stood up for him, so it came out. It was some activist brother, and in the Lamert district, and then they let the little boy go. But the whole city came together, like surround the cops, blocking the streets, Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they don't.
Yeah. Verse 20.
Read 28, 29.
Verse 28. Saying, did not we straitly command you that ye should not teach in this name? And behold, ye have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine and intend to bring this man's blood upon us.
Now, what it said. Didn't we tell you this is a command? You don't teach in the name of Christ. You don't talk about no Yahweh, your Husu, whatever they want to pronounce it. We said don't teach that. And they said, and you fill in Jerusalem with your doctrine. You out here convert people, you got them believing? You gonna cause this man's blood to be upon us? What did Peter say?
Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey Yahweh rather than men.
Period. Period. Now, who's the real powers and authorities that Romans 13 speaks? Let's get Deuteronomy. Who's the because Peter laid it down, so we ought to obey the Most High rather than men. Deuteronomy 32, but let's read 29.
Deuteronomy 2:32, verse 29.
No, I'm sorry, 30.
Deuteronomy 32, verse 39. See now that I, even I am he, and there was no power with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand.
Right, so the Most High is the only ordained power, right? He said there's no other powers with him. That word God is Elohim, or powers, angels, magistrates, or whatever. He says, I'm the one. There's no other power that can authorize anything outside of me. He's the ordained power. Everything is subject unto him in righteousness, right? So when Paul is saying everybody be subject to the higher power, meaning what? Subject to the Most High's ordained power. And who he puts in a particular position of power, you got to know that they have to follow along with the guidelines that we went over with. They have to be just. They have to be following the laws of the Most High. It's got to be upright. In order for us to know that this is of the Most High, this individual is of the Most High, right? 1 Peter 3, we're going to read 21 and 22. Book of 1 Peter, chapter 3. And we'll read 21 and 22.
Verse 21. The like figure whereunto even baptism doth also now save us, not the putting away of the filth of the flesh, but the answer of a good conscience toward the Most High, by the resurrection of Yahweh Shai, who is gone into heaven and is on the right hand of Yahweh, angels and authorities and powers being made subject unto him.
See that? So every power, angel, authority, they're all subject to the Most High. If it's not being filtered and going through the Most High, then you do not obey and abide by it. Christ told us, he said, yeah, you render unto Caesar what Caesar, right? Well, we're in captivity. The Lord, he said you got to have a car that's registered. You got to have your license to drive. You need insurance. You do all those things. You don't run around. I ain't doing that. You know, you see what happens to them guys that, what was it, brother? I forgot what they call it. But you do all the paperwork to become a sovereign citizen, and you say, you know, I'm not an American citizen. I'm a Moorish American, and I'm not subject to taxes, and my social security number is not my identification. And everybody doing that there, it's all getting locked up. Tax evasion, you know, you ain't got it. Okay, do what you're supposed to do. Christ even told us when they asked him, he said, well, should we pay the taxes? Greatly paraphrasing, he's like, well, who faces on the money? He said, well, you give Caesar what's his, but give the Most High what's his. Not favoring one over the other. Because what? All of the authorities and powers are made subject to the Most High through Christ. And he's telling us what and how we're supposed to filter that before you blindly just go in there saying, well, subject to the higher power, that's the government. That's what they said. No. Government got to be right. Matthew 28. Let's read verse 18. So we see that the Most High, in Deuteronomy 32, he's the only ordained power. All the other powers are subject unto him. And now he put Christ in place in position where he said the authorities, the magistrates, the powers, the angels, all being subject unto him. That's the order. Most High, we see in the order of man, woman, child, and the Most High and Christ in 1 Corinthians 11. Most High, Christ, man, woman. Everything has its particular order. Read that. Matthew 28:18.
Matthew 28, verse 18. And Yahweh Shai came and spake unto them, saying, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth.
Right. So Christ is ruling in all power and authority. That's who the Most High telling us we got to be subject to. Be subject to him, subject to Christ, right? And their ordained powers and authorities. Not what they out here promoting, Talking about Romans 13, it's the government. No. Romans 1. We're going to read 3 and 4.
Romans chapter 1, verse 3. Concerning his son Yahushua our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh, and declared to be the Son of the Most High with power, according to the Spirit of holiness, by resurrection from the dead.
Now, he was declared to be the Son of the Most High with power. That was it. He was given power, he was given authority, rulership. Right? That's what we have to maintain and follow after those subjects of higher power. Right? Let's go back to Romans and let's finish up reading some of this chapter. Romans 13. And you can start at verse 4.
Romans 13 and 4. For he is the minister of Yahweh to thee for good.
But start at verse 3, and then we'll read down.
Verse 3. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power?
So it says the ruler's not going to be subject to, or not going to be a terror to good works, but to evil. So even in Psalms 94 and 16, the Most High said, who's going to rise up for me against the workers of evil? So the Most High is always looking for righteous leaders and examples that's going to stand up against evil. A real ruler, righteous ruler is going to stand up and not going to condemn good works, but only the evil works. That ain't happening in this government and previous governments before that. So clearly, these aren't the rulers that the Most High is saying we got to be subject to in every and all things. Our true powers and leaders and rulers are the Most High in Christ, and they're going to establish right rulers that's going to follow after these conditions. They're not following after these conditions, they ain't of the Most High. Read on.
Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of the Most High to do to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of Yahweh, a revenger to execute wrath with him that doeth evil. Wherefore, ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake.
So, now it says, for he's the minister of the Most High to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. So, remember, even Christ said that he came to bring not peace, but a sword. But we're being subject unto righteous leaders and rulers. The Lord said that we have to still be accountable for those things. Even in Hebrews, the 13th chapter. Let's read that real quick. Hebrews 13 and verse 7. Because there are leaders and rulers that the Most High has set up and established but in righteousness. Verse 17.
Hebrews 13:17. Obey them that rule over you and submit yourselves, for they watch over your souls.
Right. Now, this ain't old time slave doctrine, white Christianity, where they telling us you better obey your master, sir. No. They're talking about the leaders of the church. They're talking about leaders of the community, Israel, that's following after the righteousness and being held accountable for the souls that they've been appointed to care for. So the Lord said, if they're doing right by you and they've shown examples of righteousness, the Lord said, obey them to have rule over you and submit yourself. Why? Because they're watching for your soul. Read on.
As they that must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable for you.
Right, because the accounting still goes back to the leader. The leader got to be able to say, well, you know what? Everything is going right with this body. Hey, Most High said, I'm watching over that. Good job. Things going left and it's going haywire and they're not being accountable for the flock. The Lord said, well, you're in charge of their souls. You got to give account. So everybody's got a role to play. There's a responsibility on all parties. It ain't some monarchy where it's like, you do whatever I say or else. Most High's like, nah, you entrusted with these souls. There's a lot that I've given you as inheritance. You're going to have to take care of it and make accounting for it. Now jump back over here to verse 4 of Romans.
Romans verse 4. For he is the minister of Yahweh to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain, for he is the minister of Yahweh, a revenger of to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil.
Right. That's how the Most High establishes the judgments, because he set up Christ, Christ sets up the angels, everything being set up. Judgment's got to happen. That's what goes down. So the Lord's telling us, stay in alignment, continue to do good, and we ain't got to worry about these things. That's when we still show ourselves subject to the higher powers, because we're living and ruling in the fear of the Most High in Christ. Read.
Wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing.
Now, this is about the tributes that was going towards the churches and whatnot. So most of them, like when you pay your alms and whatnot, make sure that the works is continuing. All right. Jump over to John 10. One example of that was John 10. And 30 down to 34. Watch this.
31 or 30? 31?
No, John 10, we're going to read 30 down to 34.
John chapter 10, verse 30. I and my Father are one. Then the Jews took up stones again to stone him. Yahushua answered them, many good works have I showed you from my Father. For which of those works do ye stone me?
So you can see, our people were sitting back saying, what you say? That's blasphemy. You say you the Son of the Most High God. Just throw this stone and knock you upside your head. Yahushua said, whoa. As many of the good works as I shown you, I done healed, I done converted, I did all this other stuff, and which one of those works you gonna kill me for? If I'm doing, remember the scriptures say that a righteous ruler is not gonna be a terror to good works. Now, if he's out here doing good works, why would they try to stone him? Read.
The Jews answered him, saying, for a good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy, and because that thou, being a man, makest thyself the Most High. Jesus, Yahushua, answered them, is it not written in your law, I said, ye are gods?
So, Yahushua was almost getting stoned and put to death for declaring himself to be the Son of the Most High. And then he still acknowledges and says that we're also powers. He said, man, hasn't it been written in your law that ye are gods, like ye are powers and magistrates and rulers and whatnot? So we're all in the same boat. He didn't exalt himself above any of them, but he just said, I and my Father are one. I'm on one accord with my Father. We're in sync. And they was like, what'd you say? You think you're the Most High? Kill him. He was like, hold on. All the good works I did, you talking about which one of the good works I did am I worthy of that? Well, ain't the good stuff that you're doing. You just said you're the Most High. He was like, I didn't say that. I said, me and my Father are one. Isn't it written in the law that I said, ye are gods, we're powers? What's wrong with you? Israel sitting back, bugged out. All right. We about to think about it. Oh, shoot. You did say that. So we can see where good works could actually be condemned if not being followed right. But Yahweh wasn't scared either. Because he said a good leader is not going to be a terror to good works, but to the evil. And they couldn't do nothing against him for evil because he wasn't doing evil. Let's drop back over here to Romans. And like I said, we're not going to probably read the whole chapter, but we're going to read down to probably like verse 7 or so. Where we leave off at?
5.
Verse 5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pick up at 5.
Romans 13:5. Wherefore you must be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are Yahweh's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing.
Right. So the Lord said he's going to set up ministers, meaning teachers, to also establish the right works of the Most High. He said, make sure you subject yourself to them. Ephesians 5 and let's read 6 and 7.
Ephesians 5, verse 6. Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of Yahweh upon the children of disobedience. Be not ye therefore partakers with them.
Right. Now, if we read up a little bit, right, this how you know it's not talking about governments and ain't talking about following wicked leaders either. Because read verse 3 down to 5.
Verse 3. But fornication and all uncleanliness or covetousness, let it be not once named among you as becometh saints, neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not covenant, but which are not convenient, Salakia, but rather giving of thanks. For this ye know, that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man, who is an idolater, hath any inheritance in the kingdom of Yahweh Shai and of Yahweh.
So we see if a leader or a government or whatever is involved in any of the above, we've been told, do not follow. Read.
Let no man deceive you with vain words.
Oh, we'll straighten everything out after the smoke clears.
Let no man deceive you with vain words.
Follow what the government says because they got your best interests at heart.
Let no man deceive you with vain words.
Remember Slow Biden? Come on, man. Just take the shot. It's not going to get you. You'll be fine.
Let no man deceive you with vain words. For because of these things cometh the wrath of Yahweh upon the children of disobedience.
Now do you see why it says if you be subject to the high power, you receive the wrath of the Most High? When you blindly, you thinking you following along with something that's right, and the Lord was like, no, that's not ordained to me. You're going to mess around and get yourself destroyed. Read.
Be ye not therefore partakers with them.
So we don't follow after darkness. We only follow the light. All right. So they're saying, poltergeist, come into the light. This house is clean. Romans 13, let's pick it up in verse 6.
Romans 13, 6.
Yep.
For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are Yahweh's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing.
So as we continue on, we're seeing that the higher powers of the Most High, Christ, angels, and now the magistrates or the leaders that the Most High sets up, it says that we have the duty to not only to obey, honor, respect them, because they've been ordained to the Most High, but there's qualifications that everybody needs to diligently search out to make sure that they meeting all the check marks before just blindly going in and following after. Now I said once that's being done, it said you pay tribute. So speaking about the temple tribute at that time, everybody had temple dues to pay to keep the temple up. But read on.
Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Owe no man anything, but love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law.
Right. So I'm gonna write down Jeremiah 3 and 15. That also tells us that the Most High selects pastors according to his heart, which will feed the people with knowledge and understanding. So these are also things that has to be done by an individual that's been ordained before we subject ourselves to him. And then the Lord said, oh no man, anything, meaning everybody pays their own dues. That's what the scriptures even tell us. Let every man work out his own salvation with fear and trembling. But to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. So we keep the commandments of the Most High according to righteousness. That's the whole duty of man when it's all said and done. Let's get a couple more and then we'll close out. The book of Ezra. Ezra chapter 6 and verse 8. And this is just more about the tribute, for the temple, why those things are important. So, that translates now to alms deeds and helping ministries or whatnot, fulfill their obligations to serve the people, teach, so forth and so on. Right? Go ahead.
Ezra chapter 6, verse 8. Moreover, I make a decree that ye shall do to the elders of these Jews for the building of this house of Yahweh, that of the king's goods, even of the tribute beyond the river, for with expenses be given unto these men, that they be not hindered.
So the tribute was done so that the elders could continue on the business. They couldn't be hindered with, worrying about any other type of business outside of conducting temple ordinances for the people. Couldn't be worried about, oh, I gotta go to work, I gotta do all this. I mean, today, that's why we ain't got no temple now. Everybody gotta, still pay their dues and work and do what you gotta do. But back then, there was a temple ordinance and the temple dues that people were paying to make sure that the priests and the elders were taken care of so that they can take care of the people. So the Most High was telling us that's how we should be honoring and following after the higher powers. Exodus 30 and the 12th verse.
Exodus 30, verse 12. When thou takest the sum of the children of Israel after their number, then shall they give every man a ransom for his soul unto the Lord. When thou numberest them, that there be no plague among them when thou numberest them. This they shall give, every one that passeth away them that are numbered, half a shekel, and half a shekel after the shekel of the sanctuary. A shekel is 20 gerahs, and half a shekel shall be the offering of the Lord.
So Paul is just going back to understanding about the temple ordinances and the temple tribute. So see that back in Romans. That's what it's talking about, that every man give tribute. Okay. I can write down 2 Kings 12 and 4. That also shows that. And let's read 2 Chronicles 24. And we'll read 6. And we'll read verse 9.
2 Chronicles chapter 24, verse 6. And the king called for Jehoiada the chief and said unto him, why hast thou not required of the Levites to bring in out of Judah and out of Jerusalem the collection according to the commandment of Moses, the servant of the Lord, and of the congregation of Israel for the tabernacle of witnesses? Verse 9. And they made a proclamation through Judah and Jerusalem to bring in to the Lord the collection that Moses, the servant of Yahweh, laid upon Israel in the wilderness.
Right. So that was just another example about the tribute that was being spoken of back in Romans. So let's close out, finish up Romans. Got a couple more verses. Continue on. So we read 7. Read 7 one more time.
Romans chapter 13, verse 7. Render therefore to all their dues. Tribute to whom tribute is due. Custom to whom custom. Fear to whom fear. Honor to whom honor. Owe no man anything.
So that's he's mirroring and saying what Christ said too. Christ said, render unto Caesar what Caesar's. He's saying the same thing. He said, render therefore all their dues. Tribute to whom tribute is due. So we said, make sure you pay your temple dues. You do what you got to do. You got to pay your taxes. Customs, you following out the righteous customs. Do those things. Fear to whom you're supposed to fear. Well, we know we fear the Most High, not man. Right? Honor to whom honor. Read.
For this thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not covet. If there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Now, that's a good one because Mayam just did a class about the 2 great commandments a couple of weeks ago, and this gives us clear understanding that, look, it says that owe no man anything, love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. Now we're seeing all these other laws about, regarding the 10 commandments. And he said that if there's any other commandment, you can comprehend it by saying you gotta love your neighbor as yourself. Meaning anything that we ain't said, you love your neighbor as yourself, you're still keeping the law. So you ain't gotta say a man should lie with man as he should be with. He said that is the same thing as loving your neighbor as yourself. But the Christians ought to say there's only 2 great commandments. I said, another God, but the Most High God and loving every yourself, and that's all we need to do. No, when we read it in context, it says, and if there be any other commandment, briefly, it's understood that you can fulfill all of the laws if you follow this one. But that doesn't mean you don't acknowledge and follow after and understand what are these other laws. If I love my neighbor, I'm not going to give you no swine, and I'm not going to give you no crab or lobster. I'm not going to commit, adultery with your wife. I'm not going to be a sodomite. All those things are showing real love of your neighbor, right? Read.
Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than we believe.
Yeah, that's the truth. If I ever heard it. I'm gonna end it there. The rest is pretty plain, last few verses, but it's even more fitting that you go there. Wow, I thought I was sharing that screen. I'm sharing the damn group letter all this time. My bad, y'all. I'm sharing the other Bible. But it's all good, man. All praise, honor, glory to the Most High, man. Prayerfully, everybody got some understanding today, man. It can, better understand this particular doctrine. And knowing our obligation, fear the Most High, keep the commandments, man. Obey the Most High, fear the Most High. We ought to obey Him rather than men, and don't fall for the okie doke with these goofy, doctors come out there telling you that you don't have a leg to stand on when it comes down to you standing up for your righteous laws and commandments. Do whatever Master says. We don't play that game. All right. With that being said, I'm gonna close out, Mr. Salam to everybody, and if you're not already in your Sabbath, then Salam to you, and then hopefully everybody will see you on the next one.
Shalom.